What if the life you're living today isn't the result of one big decision, but thousands of small ones you barely noticed? Most people think change happens through major turning points, a new job, a bold decision, a moment of courage, but more often than not, the direction of our lives is quietly shaped by something much smaller and more consistent: our habits. The routines we repeat each day slowly become the structure of our lives. The way we start our mornings, the conversations we avoid, the time we spent learning or distracting ourselves. These small patterns accumulate over time and guide the path we walk. And the truth is, habits work whether we're intentional about them or not. Today we're exploring habits that shape your life, how the smallest daily actions influences your mindset, your growth, and the person you're becoming. Because once you understand the power of habits, you begin to realize that change doesn't always require a dramatic transformation. Sometimes it begins with one small decision repeated consistently. Let's begin. Breaking out of complacency. Daniel had been living the same routine for years. Wake up, go to work, scroll through his phone during lunch, come home exhausted, watch television until it was time to sleep. Nothing in his life was necessarily wrong, but something felt off. He often told himself he'd start exercising, learn new skills, or work towards a goal, but tomorrow always seemed like a better time to start. Weeks turned into months, months turned into years. One evening, while sitting on the couch scrolling through social media, he came across a quote that stopped him. "Your life tomorrow will look a lot like today if you change something you do daily." That sentence lingered longer than he expected. Daniel realized he wasn't stuck because of lack of ability. He was stuck because of repeated habits that led him nowhere new. Instead of trying to change everything overnight, he decided to try something different, one small habit. The next morning, he woke up 15 minutes earlier and went on a short walk. It didn't feel life-changing, but it felt different. A week later, the walk became part of his routine. Then he added 10 minutes of reading after dinner, then journaling once a week to reflect on what he was learning. Months passed and something surprising happened. Daniel's life hadn't changed through one dramatic moment. It had slowly transformed through small intentional habits repeated daily. He felt clearer, more energized, and more confident. And the realization that changed everything was this: he wasn't waiting for life to improve anymore. He was building it, one habit at a time. The power of small daily actions. When people think about changing their lives, they often imagine a big moment, a dramatic decision, a burst of motivation that suddenly transforms everything. But in reality, most meaningful change doesn't happen through one powerful moment. It happens through small actions repeated consistently. Think about it this way: a single workout doesn't change your health. One healthy meal doesn't transform your body. And one productive day doesn't define your success. But when those small actions become habits, they begin to compound over time. Just like interest grows in the bank account, habits grow in influence the longer they are repeated. 5 minutes of reading each day eventually becomes books completed. 10 minutes of reflection becomes greater self-awareness. A short walk each morning becomes a healthier lifestyle. The challenge is that habits often feel insignificant in the moment. When we start something new, we expect immediate results, and when we don't see them right away, it's easy to believe that the effort isn't working. But the truth is, habits are quietly shaping your future while you're busy living your present. The small decisions you repeat daily eventually becomes the direction of your life. And once you realize that power, you start paying closer attention to the routines you're building, intentionally or unintentionally. But before we could create better habits, we have to confront something many of us experience in some point of our lives: the quiet comfort of staying the same. Because sometimes the biggest obstacle to growth isn't difficulty, it's complacency. Breaking the cycle of complacency. Complacency doesn't always look like failure. In fact, it often looks like stability. You're paying your bills, you're maintaining your responsibilities, life is moving forward, but deep down something feels stagnant. Complacency is the place where growth pauses. It's where routine continues, but progress slows because we've grown comfortable with the familiar. It's easy to stay there because comfort feels safe. Trying something new requires effort, risk, and uncertainty. Our minds often prefer predictability, even when it limits our potential. Many people fall into the habit of telling themselves, I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll exercise. Tomorrow I'll begin that project. Tomorrow I'll work towards that goal. But tomorrow has a way of repeating itself if today remains unchanged. Breaking the cycle of complacency doesn't require an overnight transformation. It starts with awareness and a small shift in action. One small change in routine, one intentional step that disrupts the autopilot pattern. Momentum builds slowly, but once it begins, it becomes easier to continue forward than to return to standing still. And when people start building those small changes consistently, something deeper begins to shift. Not just their routines, but how they see themselves. Because over time, habits stop feeling like tasks and start becoming part of your identity. Identity-based habits. One of the most powerful ideas about habits is that they don't just shape what you do, they shape who you become. Many people approach habits by focusing on outcomes. I want to lose weight. I want to read more. I want to be more productive. But identity-based habits take a different approach. Instead of focusing on what you want to achieve, you focus on the type of person you want to become. Rather than saying, I want to run a marathon, you begin with, I am someone who takes care of my health. Instead of saying, I want to write more, you begin with, I am someone who expresses my thoughts through writing. Each small habit becomes a vote for the identity you're building. When someone exercises regularly, they reinforce the identity of someone who values their health. When someone reads daily, they reinforce the identity of a lifelong learner. When someone reflects or journals consistently, they reinforce the identity of someone who values self-awareness. Over time, habits stop requiring consistent motivation because they become aligned with who you believe you are. And that's when the real transformation happens. Because when your habits reflect your identity, consistency becomes natural rather than forced. The person you're becoming begins to guide the actions you take each day. And that brings us back to the central idea of this episode. Your life is not shaped by what you do occasionally. It's shaped by what you do consistently. Your habits are not just routines. They are the daily blueprint of the person you're becoming. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. Aristotle. As we close today's conversation, remember this. The direction of your life is rarely shaped by one big moment. It's shaped by the quiet routines you repeat every single day. The small choices that seem insignificant in the moment, waking up a little earlier, choosing to learn something new, taking time to reflect, showing up consistently. These are the habits that slowly build the person you're becoming. Change doesn't require perfection. It requires consistency. One small habit practiced daily can eventually reshape your mindset, your confidence, and the direction of your life. Because when you're in charge of your habits, you begin changing the systems that build your future. But habits are not the only forces shaping our lives. Behind every action is a thought. Behind every decision is a conversation happening inside our minds. In the next episode of The Inner Compass, we're going to explore the inner dialogue, mastering self-talk, the internal voice that influences your confidence, your mindset, and the way you interpret the world around you. Because sometimes the most powerful conversation you will ever have is the one happening inside your own mind. Until next time, stay curious, stay intentional, and keep following your inner compass. Thank you.